everybody, and thank you for listening. My name is Carolina Pinart. I'm the Global Product Director for New Generation Technologies at Nestle, and I'm going to be talking about what we're doing around AI ethics at Nestle. So just to begin with, and to give an idea of the scale, I'm sure you know our name, and I hope you buy our products. We are the #1 company in the fast-moving consumer goods industry. So when we talk about AI, we're talking about artificial intelligence at scale. Just to give an idea, we sell over 1 billion products every day. It's actually, with the latest figures, over 1.5 billion. We have 388,000 employees. And actually, if we include our augmented capacity, our workforce is even bigger than this. And we operate in 190 countries, which is nearly all the countries there are on the planet, right? So this is as big as it gets, I guess. Now, why did we publish our AI ethics principles, which we did at the end of last year? Well, we did that because we understand that people are concerned about AI, and that they need this reassurance. And when I say people, I mean both consumers and our own employees. We have a lot of people working for Nestle and our suppliers and partners as well, right? And we wanted to make sure that the principles that we published were very rooted on our values, right? In case you don't know them, Nestle values are rooted on respect, right? And it's respect in 4 ways: respect for ourselves, respect for others, respect for diversity, and we're going to be talking about this, and respect for the future, right? And of course, we want to be first, not only in our industry, but also in deploying AI in our industry. So it was very important for us to make this first move. We were actually the first ones to publish AI ethics in our industry last year. So our ethics are structured in 6 pillars. And what we did is align with other initiatives like the European Union or the Swiss initiative. And we looked at initiatives in all regions because we operate at a global scale. And at the same time, we wanted it to be very simple for our employees to understand and adopt, but also for consumers to continue with their trust, right? So what are those 6 pillars? There's transparency and explainability. The second one is diversity, non-discrimination, and fairness. Third one is privacy and security. Fourth one is environmental and social well-being. The fifth one is accountability. And the sixth one is technical robustness. So I'll be talking about diversity, non-discrimination, and fairness moving forward, but I want to give you a feel for the 2 principles that are a little bit different than any technology that we have in production, any IT, right? So one is transparency and explainability. That is very specific to AI. And I also want to talk a little about environmental and social well-being, right? Because we are making a big effort on that front, and AI is part of that, right? So on transparency and explainability, basically, what we want is to make sure that the decision-making process that we do, even when it's done by AI or supported by AI, can be understood. That the rationale behind a decision can be understood. That's what transparency and explainability is all about. It is a complex thing to do, and we are putting a lot of effort on that. Now, regarding the environmental and social well-being, the principle is, the idea is incorporating the well-being of us people, so humankind, and also the environment is part of our sustainability and ecological responsibility as a company, that you can see in things like, removing plastics from a packaging, for example, right? So it's part of the same principles and sort of the same path that we're doing moving forward, right? It's, part of launching plant-based food, for example, right? So now, let's talk a little bit about diversity, non-discrimination, and fairness itself, right? So with that, what we want is avoid any discrimination based on whether it's caste, creed, color, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or anything that actually makes us who we are, right? And it also promotes inclusion and diversity, right? So it is not only not having bias, but also making sure that we include that diversity throughout the entire life cycle of AI, from defining it to designing to implementing it to pushing it to production, measuring, and so on, right? Now, this we're going to do in two ways. So there's like two different angles to that, right? The first one is making sure that we have diverse teams in the process of AI. And the second one is making sure that we have guidance and checks against bias. So in the first one, I think we're in a good position because diversity is an integral part of Nestle's culture, right? So as you can see, and I can put the principles on the slide, right, is respect for others, respect for diversity. We are a very diverse workforce, not only because we operate in so many countries, but we also make sure that when we hire people, we take into account that diversity in gender, in culture, in background, in everything, right? So this one is very important. That's been part of our HR policies for a long time. And we are putting a lot of care in making sure that all the people from business to data scientists to data engineers, software developers, there is diversity in the teams, right? Second one is around guidance and checks, right? So there are different places where we can introduce bias, right? So uh, first, when we talk about AI, we start by thinking of use cases, right? So there are use cases where, we are optimizing processes. Say that, for example, in a factory, we want to reduce waste, right? And we're introducing some prediction models based on machine learning to kind of optimize that and save costs, right? There is not really an ethical thing here, right? So in that use case, we just imagine that we have like a form, right? When we capture use cases, where we ask the question, is there any ethics concerns in this one? So on this one, it will be no, right? But we also have other use cases. For example, we launched a voice application for new moms and dads to ask questions, right, about their pregnancy or when's the baby's born, questions about sleep patterns, lactation, food, weaning. I mean, there's a lot of questions, and if you have kids, you know which ones. So when we did that with the infant nutrition business, the question of, because the voice application uses natural language processing, which is part of AI, it was like, okay, let's talk about that piece of bias, or what kind of, this is a sensitive thing, right? Just to give you two very different use cases. So number one thing is, there's always the ethics question in when capturing the use case. Second one is the data set review, right? So we review data sets very carefully against bias, from bias in measuring, like are we measuring everything there is that needs to be incorporated in the model, to when you select, and you do the sort of the sampling, are we selecting, the features that are going to be in the model in the right way, or are we leaving something out that shouldn't be left out, right? Because at the end of the day, a machine learning model, what it does is it amplifies certain patterns that it learns, right? So we want to make sure that it amplifies them the right way. And finally, once we have those models out there, or actually before we have them out there, we do a thorough measuring of the final model, and making sure that what the model is predicting or doing is what it should be. And we put a lot of, as you can see, from the moment we identify use case, sort of a higher level, to when we are working on the data set, to the model, to then measuring, there is ethics checks throughout. And if we do that with a diverse team, so people that look at things from different angles. So for example, in my own team, New Generation Technologies, we have people from 8 nationalities. Of course, we have men, women, people from different religions, people from different backgrounds. Like I have a mathematician, I have a journalist, right? Because for the natural language processing, it's about a conversation. I have people coming from media, people coming from an engineering background. So it's all this diversity. And when we work with our partners and agencies, we make sure also that all these angles are brought together, and together with the business, that we can have this many eyes and many backgrounds looking at an issue. And that's in a nutshell what we do around AI ethics in Nestle.